Peace deals and trade deals are on US President Donald Trump's agenda during his Malaysia visit.
So now these gentlemen are about to sign what we're calling the Kuala Lumpur Peace Accords. Good name. Both countries are agreeing to cease all hostilities and work to build good neighborly relationships, which have already started.
The joint declaration builds on a truce that Cambodia and Thailand have already agreed to. It does not decide the territorial dispute over holy sites on their shared border. This dispute, which spiraled into deadly clashes in July, left 40 dead and displaced hundreds of thousands of people. But the pact requires both sides to keep up a dialogue, withdraw heavy weapons from border areas, and return captured soldiers.
This declaration, if fully implemented, will provide the building blocks for a lasting peace.
And reflecting the gratitude of the Cambodian peoples, I have nominated President Donald J. Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize.
One lever that Trump used to pull the two countries into a truce was the prospect of trade deals with the US. He made good on that promise, signing bilateral trade agreements with Cambodia and Thailand. Trade with the US is important to the 10 nations that make up the ASEAN group. ASEAN's exports to the US grew from $142 billion in Trump's first term to $312 billion last year. The deal that Trump also inked with Malaysia, like the one with Thailand, settles the tariffs on most of their exports to the US at 19% and includes access to critical minerals. As the US tries to reduce its dependence on crucial rare earths from China, export-oriented Southeast Asian countries are hoping to gain from the trade frictions between the superpowers and are wooing Donald Trump to improve their economic relations with the world's richest nation.
Joining us now is Dr. Shafiah F. Muhibat, Deputy Executive Director for Research at the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Indonesia. Welcome to the program.
Hi, hello.
So we're once again seeing world leaders flattering Trump to get a favorable trade deal. How crucial is it for Southeast Asian countries to keep on the good side of the U.S. president?
Sure. I mean, the result from the first day of the summit strongly indicate that ties with the U.S. is very important to ASEAN members, serving critical economic, security, and diplomatic functions, even though the ASEAN continues to seek to maintain centrality and neutrality amid the major power rivalry. So, of course, the first and foremost is economic significance. This is about securing market access and investment, about supply chain resilience, and also mitigating trade war impact. But there are also, of course, security and diplomatic leverage, as we've discussed about how the U.S. plays a very important security and diplomatic role in the region. There is also the need to elevate, the status of partnerships with the U.S. And you can see that now the relation tends to become more transactional in nature. The U.S.'s approach under the current administration is seen as highly transactional, driven by economic bargaining, securing wins like the bilateral trade deals. But all in all, it's a very important tie for ASEAN with the U.S.
So Trump has touted himself as the global peacemaker. Do leaders in the ASEAN region share that view?
It's a bit tricky. Of course, in general, in ASEAN, we view that the role of the U.S., specifically for the Cambodia-Thai situation, is important. That he is able to put into account this this peace agreement. But there are, of course, some concerns, especially with regards to ASEAN centrality. ASEAN regards itself, having this centrality of managing issues within the region. So there is this tension regarding Trump's grandstanding or claiming singular credit for the conflict resolution. So critics like the former Malaysian PM Mahathir Mohamad have also raised concern about this. But all in all, there's two sides of the story. On the one hand, we appreciate the involvement, which means that ASEAN or Southeast Asia is important to the U.S. But on the other hand, of course, there are these concerns with regards to ASEAN centrality, how we can manage our own region.
The U.S. and China, another huge global economy, are locked in a trade war right now. How is that trade war impacting other countries in Southeast Asia?
It has been a serious concern for Southeast Asia, especially with the recent unpredictable and abrupt tariff hikes from the U.S. So tariff instability, of course, impacts negatively the region. And it adds to our already existing concern with regards to supply chain. So this calls for a lot of bilateral deals as countermeasures. So as we saw yesterday at the summit, we saw that U.S. and Malaysia signed a major trade agreement, and then also this other agreements with Thailand and Cambodia, which shows that now we are left to resort to other types of deals to countermeasure some of the negative impact from the U.S.-China trade war.
China was not at that summit that you mentioned, the ASEAN summit. How do countries within the ASEAN group balance their relationships between Washington and Beijing?
Balancing act is, you can say, is a defining feature of Southeast Asian foreign policy. For the longest time, we have this policy of non-alignment. I mentioned the principle of ASEAN centrality. All of this encapsulates the need to balance act between the U.S. and China. So the summit yesterday underscored both the necessity of this balance and also the difficulty. So we can see that we are having problems managing great power rivalry. There are the economic realities that the region is economically tethered to both, actually, to both U.S. and China. China is our largest economic partner. Chinese firms are capitalizing on U.S. protectionism policies at the moment, but simultaneously, the U.S. remains a crucial market and security partner. So the general sentiments among the region is a cautious leaning toward the U.S. If forced to choose. But the overwhelming practical approach is to avoid choosing sides and maintain constructive relations between the both powers.
Dr. Shafiah F. Muhibat from the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Indonesia. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Sochua is a former Cambodian politician and president of the Khmer Movement for Democracy. Welcome to the program. First question is, how confident are you that this ceasefire will hold? We've seen flare-ups in fighting over the decades.
First of all, we are, the people of Cambodia, are very grateful to President Trump and to Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, who is the current chair of ASEAN, because this mediation will allows people of Cambodia and of Thailand to take a break from the border dispute. I think we are grateful. However, if we talk about success of this deal, there's still a long way to go, because there was a deal, a ceasefire that was signed on the 28th of July of this year, and it was immediately broken by Thailand by taking 18 Cambodian soldiers and the hostage, and they still remain in Thailand, soldiers.
So could you talk a little bit more about the outstanding issues, in your view, including what you just mentioned, that still need to be resolved to achieve that lasting peace?
Many issues. First of all, we are talking about territories. The dispute between Cambodia and Thailand have always been there for a long time, but there is a mechanism to resolve the dispute, which is the International Court of Justice, ICJ, and also the Paris Peace Accord that was signed by 18 countries, including the US, on how to protect the sovereignty of Cambodia. So sovereignty, territory, are really the issues for for Cambodia and Thailand. And it can only resolve only when there is an international court of justice. And that's number one. And Cambodia is now willing to take it to the ICJ, as well as Thailand, not willing to use ICJ, wanting to use bilateral and joint committee technical issues. But it's not just a technical, it's so clear. You can just go to the International Court of Justice and get it resolved. It's not being done.
And very quickly, another question I wonder is the White House, you have attributed this deal in part to President Donald Trump. Now, the White House also announced a trade deal with Cambodia. Was economic pressure a deciding factor in making this agreement possible?
Oh, certainly. Since the first deal that was signed on the 28th of July, it was really clear that Cambodia and Thailand are so desperate to resolve the very heavy 49% tariffs on our countries. So it would have meant that Cambodia would have been economically shattered,
right?
Because the trade from Cambodia, the export to the U.S. is about 13 billion.
Yeah,
13 billion. That would, and 49% tariff would be massive layoff of workers, economic collapse of Cambodia. Therefore, Cambodia will sign the deal under duress.
Got it.
It has to sign the deal.
Mo Sochua, we have to leave it there, but thank you so much, President of the Khmer Movement for Democracy. Thank you.